ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, Last Second Sports and Jackhammer.
Hey man, I'm happy to be here. This is interesting. I posted on my YouTube channel. I told everybody to come follow you, but I said, from what I know of CG, this will be an interesting contrast. But I'm all for it, man. Anybody who's putting out Niner content, I'd love to support, and getting to do it with my man Jackhammer, that's always a plus as well.
Yeah, and you know what's even funnier? The name Jackhammer. Like, do you get that name off of Goldberg? Jackhammer.
No, yeah, so love some pro wrestling though. That sounds good stuff. So.
Yeah, I'm like a passionate wrestling fan too, because I got this Roman Reigns shirt. Show up and win.
There you go.
Okay. well, Jesse up here, he's the Rock, and then we had we had Stone Cold Steve Austin with us the other night. So we lost Neil on our show. It's kind of a joke because the two of them were debating so hard, and I ended up being the king, Jerry Lawler, over in the corner, just keeping tabs on both of them.
Oh man, Jerry Lawler is a great commentator. He was just funny as a heel.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely, man. So what I'm hearing from what Jay and Debate posted, I just posted that video, and I don't know if it's accurate, but if we are interested of D.D. Westbrook, what can it do for that position? Does that mean we have to cut Benny Fowler next?
Yeah, go ahead, Jack. You tell me what you think about D.D. Westbrook.
Well, if D.D. Westbrook is healthy, I think it's a good signing. He's been pretty productive throughout his career up to this point before last season. So if he can be healthy, I think it would be a good signing compared to what they've been doing in the past at that position. So
yeah, I'm cool with DD, man. I wouldn't mind having him. But again, if we get DD, does that mean this whole Julio thing goes away, right? So it just kind of shows Vegas has the 49ers at the biggest odds to land Julio, right? They're the most likely to do so. And so everybody thinks they have the 49ers figured out. We should have learned from this whole draft process that nobody knows what they're talking about when it comes to San Francisco. And, here they are. Everybody wants them to get Julio, and they're going after D.D. Westbrook. So interesting contrast.
Yeah, pretty much. Like if that's the case, then maybe we're out of that sweepstakes. But from what I'm hearing, the Falcons are asking for a first-round pick, and I don't think no other team's willing to do that.
No.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody's going to be giving them a first-round pick for Julio at this point in his career.
Yeah, so let's get on to the position of the wide receiver. I mean, who do you guys have as your breakout besides Debo and Ayuk? Who would be the guy that people need to watch out for?
I mean, I think the easy answer would be Hurd, right, if he's healthy. This is a guy that Peter King came out and said was running everything in that training camp when he was a rookie, ahead of Debo. Everything that we've seen from Debo was supposed to happen with Hurd, right? And so if he's healthy, that's got to be the breakout guy. In my opinion, I don't see anybody else that could quote unquote break out. I think there's other guys that could fill the position. I think Richie James could fill the position. I think he could do it well. I think Mohamed Sanu could fill the position. But if you're looking for a true breakout guy, somebody that can be an exclamation mark on this offense, I think it's Hurd.
Yeah, because of his size and the way he played the slide, he's physical after the catch. So, he's got that skill set. Let's get on what Jackhammer's got to say about that one.
I was going to say, Monica over in the comment section, she hit the one that I was looking at, which is actually Richie James.
Uh-oh, Jack freeze out on us?
Yeah, I guess. He'll come back. Like what Monica did say, I do think that it could be Richie James because of the fact that he can do a lot. I mean, he can really make the big plays. He can make the big catches. It's just he hasn't had much opportunities, and I don't know if the coaching staff is very sold on him because if they were, they wouldn't be playing River Craycraft over him.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, right? So when I look at Richie James, obviously I feel like he could play the part, but Shanahan tends to lean towards those bigger slot guys. I mean, he's done it throughout his whole career, so I think that kind of tells us why down the stretch when Debo and Ayuk were healthy, why we didn't see Richie James in the past. So yeah, I would like to see him do something, but I just don't think that Shanahan's quote unquote type as far as a slot receiver. I think he wants a big guy, or at least somebody that's physical, right? Like let's say we traded for Julio. Debo's not the biggest guy, but he plays big. So he's going to go over the middle.
Yeah.
He's not going to have any issues. So that's the way that I see it. I don't see Richie James breaking out.
Oh, yeah, breaking.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Jack, you were about to say Richie James. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say Richie James. Every time they've given him a chance and to play, he's played well. He averages over 18 yards of reception, so he gives you the playability. He's and seems to typically want his number 3 receiver. He's a little bit on the smaller side, but he's a guy that definitely should be a guy that's given more opportunities than he's been given so far in his first 3 years with the team.
Jack, you missed it when you had some technical difficulties, but I said I like Richie James a lot. I think he can be a good player, but it just seems like he doesn't really fit the mold of big slot guys that Shanahan wants. He had a chance to play down the stretch last year when Debo and Ayuk were healthy, and we just didn't see a lot of them. We didn't even see a lot of 3 wide receiver sets, and I don't know if that talks to what Shanahan wants to do offensively, or if that talks to the lack of ability that Shanahan maybe sees in him in that position. I'm not sure, but it is something to note at the very least.
Yeah, because if he was that confident, man, like why would you play a guy like River Craycraft over this guy? I mean, Richie's far better than River Craycraft, and that just tells you that Shanahan's just not confident in him.
Well, the Craycraft got most of his snaps in the Green Bay game when they didn't have any other bunch of receivers are out, right? I think Debo and Ayuk were both out of that game, so it makes sense there. I just think that James brings something to the table that other guys don't have. So it'll be interesting to see how they utilize him.
Yeah, I think it might be Jack's mic. Young Flacco says that he hears a weird sound. I
hear it too.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can change it up.
Yeah, maybe that's the difficulty, but hey, man, I guess sometimes StreamYard kind of gets difficulty with other people.
StreamYard's great, man, but it's a joke sometimes. Yeah, definitely has its trials and tribulations, to say the least.
Yeah, I haven't had any issues with it as much, but except for people with bad reception, that's probably the only reason why StreamYard would be that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something else because it's still happening.
Yeah.
Without my headset on.
Yeah, you can hear the squeaky sound.
Do you go into settings real quick, Jack? And under audio, make sure echo cancellation's on. Is the only thing I can think of. Maybe it'll crush it. I don't know. At any rate, he'll get it figured out. CG, so you posted a video earlier about Julio.
Yeah.
And you said that you didn't think that it was going to happen because of a first-round pick, and I'm hearing the same things. That they're looking for a first-round pick. That said, they were shopping for a first-round pick come draft time, right? And they didn't get it. And I don't believe that they're going to get a first-round pick. I think that he's going to be had for a second-round pick. The way that it came out today that he wants out, that was an interesting deal. Shannon Sharp calls him live on the show with Skip and says, listen, let's call Julio. Let's cold call him. Let's see where he's going. And Julio says he's out of Atlanta. So now their hands kind of forced. Now the rest of the league knows that he has to be traded. I just don't see him getting a first. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to San Francisco, but a first-round pick I just don't see happening.
Yeah, it's too much of a price for him. And plus, at this point, he's been having injury issues. So that's been the problem right there. So it's like I think what you're saying is a valid point. I don't think the Falcons will get nothing more than what they're asking for. It's going to be either a second or maybe a third round at this point, because who wants to take a chance on a guy who's been injured the last couple of years? I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great receiver, but he's 30 years old, like 32 years old. So usually they start to slow down as they get older in this league and they get hurt. Their body starts to get hurt more because as they play the game for so long, they start to wear down a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, now that sounds on mine. I don't know what the hell's going on. StreamYard's killing me.
Yeah, StreamYard's like a difficulty, man. I've seen some people do different like teams, but even with different streams, it's still kind of a difficult with depending on the reception or what you got. You know, it's like it could be that way too.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it might have been for some reason it was coming from my my camera, so I just went back to my regular computer camera instead of my exterior camera. Okay. I don't hear it anymore, at least on my end. So
I don't hear it anymore on your end either.
Yeah,
but
you're
now
good.
I hear it on mine.
Oh, damn! Now it's going to the next person.
It's a plague. Oh well, we'll fight through it. It is what it is. We're pros. Let's do this.
Yeah. So, what were you gonna say, Jackhammer? Like, since this Julio Jones talk, what's your thoughts on it, man?
You know, it's one of those things where there was some new information that came out today where it broke down the cap hits, and you know, it's not that bad of a deal, really. It's only, I think, $15 million for this year, and then it's 11 for the next two, just a little bit more than that. It averages out to about a little over $13 million a year for him, and you know, he only has $2 million in guaranteed money for 2022. So it's one of those deals where if they want to go ahead and make that and try to win now with a guy like that, then I think they can definitely make it work under their cap. It's not something they can do right this minute. They're going to have to make some other moves because although they still have $17 million in cap, they still need to get Trey Lance under contract, and they've got to get a couple of their other rookies under contract. Once they get them, they're not going to have enough money to bring on Julio Jones's contract. So there's got to be somebody else that's got to be moved. And like Jesse told me on Twitter, you know, Jimmy's the easy one to point out there, right? Jimmy Garoppolo.
Pay cut, yeah, massive pay cut for him. That would be the smart move.
Yeah. So I think it would be great to have a receiver like that. They haven't had a receiver of his kind of talent since Jerry Rice. So it'd be great to have him on the team if they could swing it somehow.
Yeah, that would be hard, but we'll wait and see how that goes. But yeah, at the meantime, I mean, it's more intriguing that players like Julio Jones just wants to be out of Atlanta. And then you're hearing Deshaun Watson wanting out of Houston, not even showing up to media camp. Like, man, what is it with these players?
Yeah, the thing is with Deshaun is he's choosing a bad time, man. I know it's not necessarily 49er related, but it's a bad time for him to do what he's doing. Like, dude, I don't know a team that's going to take you with these circumstances. And if they're going to take you, they're not going to give the Texans anything. So why would the Texans trade you at this point? It just doesn't make any sense. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I know that Trey Lance, Trey Sermon, and Ambry Thomas will still need to be signed. But I know with Trey Lance, we don't have to rush this guy. He'll be able to just learn the speed of the game. He won't have to be thrown in the fire like Alex Smith did. I mean, that's the best part about him. I mean, that's why it's a perfect pick, because I thought in the beginning, if we do pick Trey Lance, it won't be like a difficult issue because we could still play Jimmy Garoppolo at this point. But if you draft other quarterbacks like Mac Jones or Justin Fields, then what's the point of having Jimmy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I've wanted Lance the whole time. And I was fortunate enough to have his QB coach on the show. Jack and I actually did it. It was Hammer and Nails episode 2. And yeah, man, he really sold us on that whole bit. For me, I think Trey Lance is ready to start now. And that was a big reason why I did want him, because everybody wanted to say that Mac Jones was pro ready. Well, guess what? Trey Lance and Mac Jones both had 17 starts. And when you look at the starts that Trey Lance had, he was under center more, which you know Shanahan likes. He called his own plays. He called his own audibles. The verbiage in that offense is extremely long. And he called his own protections. These are all things that most college quarterbacks don't do. So when you talk about a player that would be ready for the next level, you're talking about Trey Lance. Yes, he didn't have the ideal starts, but he also had the benefit of a year and sitting out and just having all focus on him and getting all of those mechanics worked out. He did have some issues mechanically. He was a little inaccurate because of those issues that he had mechanically. But every single thing that his quarterback coach assured us that he was working on showed up during that pro day. And every video that's posted, it continues to show up time and time and time again. And the way that I see it is the way that Jimmy ran that offense in 2019, I don't know why Trey Lance couldn't do that today.
That's a good one right there. I mean, this is what I like about Trey Lance. I mean, he's playing in a similar offense. North Dakota State, they run a very similar offense. It won't be that difficult. And I mean, like you just said, he did the audibles, the communication with the offensive lineman. You don't see many of those kind of prospects do that since Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning did stuff like that. I mean, it's rare.
Yeah, and I agree kind of with what Jesse said. I don't think that Lance is any less pro ready to start right now than Justin Fields or Mac Jones, either of the other quarterbacks that were available at that point. I think if anything, he's more ready. He's more ready from a mental standpoint. He just needs to get the reps in the games, and I think he'll be fine. I think by the time with having the off season that they get to have, as long as he's healthy throughout, I think he could start week 1. Really, if he shows the progression that is expected of him.
That's it, Jack. That's exactly it. If they didn't have a preseason and they didn't have these training camps, you couldn't go with them. But now he gets time to learn. He gets time to show out. And to me, I think, again, you don't start him just to start him, but he's going to win that starting job.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, that's how it would be. I mean, this is what makes it so interesting for Trey Lance. He will get a chance to do training camp, preseason. This will pretty much showcase what he could do. I mean, even though the preseason games are like 3 games, that's better than nothing. I mean, at least you're able to showcase those 3 games. I mean, we can see what Trey Lance is all about. I mean, like before, last year, you didn't have that opportunity. You didn't have a chance to, like, do that during the offseason or training camp because of the COVID. So that's what really hurt it. But this year, they have a chance to at least do that now. So,
yeah, I mean, and not only him. Like, let's really break it down. How many rookies last year didn't even get that chance? Right? Like, we're talking about all of the rookies last year between Ayuk, Kinlaw, everybody who was undrafted. Like, they didn't have a chance. This is the best part, really, to me, seeing a bunch of players that were 5th-round picks, 6th-round picks, undrafted free agents. This is their time to show out. This is their time to make a team. So the fact that we're going to get that this year is extremely exciting. I mean, not only for Trey Lance, but for all those other guys. Can Ambry Thomas win that number 2 corner spot? That's something to look out for. Can Lenore make an impact right away? These guys like Ambry Thomas and God, I'm drawing a blank. Who was the second running back we took? Not Sermon, but
Elijah Mitchell.
Elijah Mitchell. Can they make an impact in the game? And if not, can they make an impact right away on special teams? Because special teams is another area that is a concern for us. It's one that lost us games last year. We didn't even break even on special teams. Like, special teams is one of those things that people don't think about, but it can win you a game throughout the course of the season, and it certainly can lose you one. And it did that for us in New Orleans. So those are important position battles that we're going to get to see play out in front of our eyes, and it's something I'm extremely excited for.
Yeah, and Jesse makes a good point there with the special teams, because that's where you're going to have some of these guys are going to need to make key contributors there. Talanoa Hufanga, he's a guy that's probably going to be the way that he makes the team, is his ability to come out and play special teams and help out with their kick coverage units and things like that. Shoot, we might even see Raheem Mostert, back on some of these coverage units once again, because he's been so good at it. Maybe that's going to be part of the reason why he ends up staying with the team instead of being replaced by, like a guy like Gallman, who doesn't have that special teams ability.
Yeah, absolutely. Me and the Dream says, which running back do you think should get more carries if Mostert gets injured? Sermon or Wilson? What do you think, CG?
Well, I already seen what I can get with Jeff Wilson, but he can't stay healthy. But if Trey Sermon can take advantage of those opportunities, which I believe he will, I would like to see what Trey Sermon can do, because I've seen him, what he's capable of doing at Oklahoma through Ohio State. This guy can be a legitimate bell cow if you use him the right way. But if I had to choose at the moment, it would be Jeff Wilson. Just saying.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Jeff Wilson's extremely talented. I don't remember if it was my show or another show, but the question came up was, who do you think's going to lead San Francisco in rushes this year? And I said Jeff Wilson. I think that he's extremely talented. He's big-bodied. I feel like they're going to try to limit Mostert a little bit, and they should, and try to get him, just make sure he's fresh for the playoffs. I think that's the way to do it. Give him about 10 touches a game, and then allow Wilson and Sermon and some of these other guys to get some burn. I envision week 3 against the Packers. This is a team that I don't think can stop our run game. But let's say you start off with Mostert gashing you to the outside, and then you have Wilson coming out of the backfield catching passes and is able to gash you inside or outside. Then you get to that fourth quarter when you're dog tired. You haven't been able to stop the run all game, and then Sermon gets 15 carries in the fourth quarter. Like, imagine dealing with that three-headed monster.
That would be difficult. I think that would be the smart way to go.
Yeah, that's definitely, I see Sermon as the finisher. I see him as the closer. So there's a possibility that he might end up with the most carries, but they're going to be spread out towards more, because you're going to get, as Jesse said, you're going to get those carries are going to be spread out, but a lot of his are going to come later in the game, in the fourth quarter and so on, because I like to see all these guys kind of get limited to about 10 to 12 carries a game if at all possible. I'm a little different, though, than Jesse. I want to see Jeff Wilson start, have him kind of soften up the defense a little bit, and then bring Mostert in the game, kind of like what they did with him in 2019, in this, down the stretch of that season. That was the role that they used him in, was as the change of pace back because of his speed, and the defense gets worn down. Then they put him in the game and let him pound on, run around him to the outside. So I'd like to kind of see them get back to that, keep him under 10 carries a game. I think that's really what they need to keep him around for the full season.
Yeah, that would be the smart way, because, are you going to play somebody who hasn't played in our offense last year? Jeff Wilson's very familiar, and then Jeff Wilson played hot later in the season, so he did have some great games the last couple of the games of the season. He did finish strong. I would still want to play him even over Trey Sermon, even though I do know that Trey Sermon can be a really good back. I do see us using Trey Sermon just exactly how the Ravens used J.K. Dobbins last year. He'll probably become the starter later in the season and become the starter next year.
Yeah, I could see that. I want to address this comment by 49ers Ultimate Report. He says, I push back on Lance starts week 1. Jimmy has to start. I don't want a $27.5 million backup. I just want the best player to play. And my prediction is that Lance is going to be the best player. I also don't want a $27.5 million terrible starter. So, Jimmy's on this roster at $27.5 million, and he hasn't proven to be very good. He hasn't proven to be healthy. So I don't care if he's a backup. I don't care if he's the starter, if he wins that job outright. I'm cool with it either way. Heck, I don't care if he's not on the roster. I don't care much about Jimmy G. $27.5 million is way too much, no matter what position he's in my opinion. So, again, if Lance wins that job outright, cool. We got a good little backup.
Yeah, that's the point about it. Like, when it came down to paying him $27.5 million, man, he showed some flashes, but never stayed healthy. And there's some games where he was a little bit consistent. There was games he should have did better, but the thing with Jimmy G is, like, you like the fact that he's got better record as a starter. He's won games. He's only lost the Super Bowl, but that's the one thing that hurts us the most, is him losing that Super Bowl game and not able to make that throw. But if I had to go with who's the hot hand, who's the better quarterback, who's going to give us the best chance to win, if Trey Lance wins that starting job, I'm rocking with Trey Lance 100%, because you draft this guy to be your franchise quarterback. Whether it's Jimmy G being the starter this year, I'm cool with it. As long as he plays his role and steps up and be the mentor just like Alex Smith, then you know what? We're in a win-win situation.
Yeah, I just don't know about paying $27.5 million for Garoppolo with some of the other things that they need to do roster wise. And I don't know how if he's really going to be sticking around or if that's a guy we're going to get traded at some point, maybe during training camp as the season gets closer, because right now they're kind of stuck. They only, like I said, they're only going to have about $9 million of cap space. If they're going to sign another receiver, that's going to eat into it a little bit more. So yeah, $27.5 million for Garoppolo. That's a hefty backup cost. That's for darn sure.
Well, he's got the volume or something.
I think you're muted.
Yeah,
Jess.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Amin says it's ultimately about which quarterback gives us the best chance to succeed. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Trying to win this year, you know what I mean? Either way, trying to win as many games as possible. I just think, again, when you go back to 2019, let's really break down Jimmy's season. Talking about a guy who in his best season was 27 total touchdowns, 13 interceptions, but 7 fumbles lost. So you're talking about 27 total TDs and 20 turnovers. Was the offense that dynamic and that explosive upfield? No, it was all short game, tosses to Debo, handoff to Mostert, handoff to Breida. There was nothing dynamic downfield about that offense, right? So why can't Trey Lance come in and do those same things? And then let's add in the extra element of his legs. I feel like Trey Lance can give us 27 TDs and 20 turnovers, even as a rookie, as green as he is, right? So, and then he adds the added element of, like I said, the run game and then down the field passing. Those two things are something that no matter what Jimmy does and how good Jimmy is, he's not going to add that to this game. That offense is not going to have that dynamic playmaking ever with Jimmy under center. So give the kid a chance.
Yeah, we got to give the guy a chance to prove it. I mean, he's 21 years old. He's going to have a lot of years to prove himself. I mean, the better this guy learns this game quickly, the better. But he's already in that advantage. He already played a similar offense. So I would have been okay with him playing over Jimmy G. But at this point, you're paying this guy $27.5 million. I can see where Ultimate Report's coming from. But if Jimmy G doesn't prove himself, then I'm sorry. I'd rather go with a rookie quarterback who's not going to cost me too much financially. I'd rather just go with the hot hand. If that's Trey Lance, I think he's going to do a great job. He's going to give us a lot more in this offense that Jimmy couldn't give us. I mean, he can extend plays. He can scramble. He can throw the deep ball too. So that's something that Jimmy G hasn't been able to do. I mean, let's be honest.
Hey, Jack, can I ask? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Jack. Go ahead. I'll ask you a question afterwards.
Yeah. The only thing I was going to throw in really quick about Jimmy G in 2019 is you got to go back and you got to realize that they had the highest percentage of pass plays that gained more than 15 yards in the NFL. Their percentage of pass plays, they led the league in percentage of pass plays that gained 15 plus yards. So however they got to that number, they were able to do it. They fell off last year to 11th. They didn't have Garoppolo for half the year, whatnot. And his play fell off last year as he couldn't move. I mean, he wasn't very mobile, and even in 2019, but he was extremely unmobile when he came back from his injury after week 2. So it'll be interesting. And I'm not necessarily against Jimmy Garoppolo sitting or getting rid of him. I'm just kind of throwing that out there to kind of balance out how 2019 went with Garoppolo.
Yeah, let me ask you this though. Do you think I got 2 questions for you now? Do you think that is because? Do you think that's more because of the playmakers around him and the scheming, or do you think that was directly attributed to Jimmy? Because I look at last year, Jimmy was out, yes, but so were all those playmakers.
I think it has to do with the fact that the fact that Garoppolo was hitting his playmakers, more often. The one thing last year that they didn't remember, the one difference is they didn't even have Emmanuel Sanders last year either, right? So you take him out of the picture. He was, for whatever you want to say, he was kind of a big playmaker. He had quite a few downfield completions from him. yeah. And then you throw in Debo being absent, the running game not being quite as good, because even the running game fell off in that category. The running game in 2019 was at number 6 as far as that stat that I gave for runs that gained more than 10 or more yards. They were 6, and they were down to 21st last year. So
yeah,
it all kind of plays together. I think some of it was Garoppolo not being there, and some of it was Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard playing quarterback too.
Well, because the other two things that I look at when it comes to Jimmy is that year he was also, I think, bottom 5 in air yards per attempt. So, like, he's getting it's a lot like what Mac Jones did, right? Mac Jones put up big numbers this year, but 38% of his passes were behind the line of scrimmage. Okay, so there's a lot of yak. I mean, that's not to discredit him, but you got a lot of playmakers around you, and that's the way that I feel like it went for Jimmy. And you're talking about a guy who, if you're not throwing downfield, you really shouldn't take a lot of sacks, especially with 2.4 seconds of protection time, and he took 36 of those. So it's like, I don't know. Again, I just feel like Lance can do it all. Jack, I was going to ask you this, though, because you're the cap guy. You know a lot more than I do when it comes to this stuff. Can you explain to everybody what the difference is, if any, if Jimmy is cut, let's say he's cut before this season, or if they wait till the end of the season to trade or cut him? What is that cap difference in that situation?
Just 1 second, I'll tell you. Because what's going to happen there is I think that they only save $2.4 million if they cut him right now, right?
Yeah.
Or is that what you're asking me? Or are you asking me as far
I'm just asking, like, so let's say they cut him, because a lot of people talk about rollover cap. Like, how does, just in general, how does rollover cap work, and what can people look at from that?
Yeah, so I get, so that's a little bit different. So as far as the rollover, if they go ahead and keep Jimmy Garoppolo this year and then cut him before the start of next season, they lose a little bit of money. But we're only talking the difference in that rollover between rolling over his cap or keeping him. Towards your question, is only like $1.4 million. It's very small. So as far as that rollover, it really doesn't help them out to get rid of him. It just helps them to, they're only going to save, like I said, about $1.4 million if they cut him now compared to next year.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. So really no need to cut him now necessarily.
Yeah. It's not this big, massive savings, because you can only take that savings one time, and it's going to be, it would hit this year and it rolls over into next, but it's still going to be, they're still going to only gain about, like I said, about $1.5 million in the rollover cost.
Okay, cool.
Okay, let's get on to this question right here. This is the more intriguing question. Should we even use Trey Lance in this Taysom Hill situation or the Kaepernick situation, to where we did that goal line package and they score for that touchdown play or something? Or you think that's just wasteless at this point to use them like that?
Go ahead, Jack.
No, if Garoppolo ends up being the guy that they decide to go with, I think they need to have packages built into every game in which they can bring Trey Lance into it. Well, whether or not they choose to use them or not, that wouldn't necessarily expect it to happen in every game, but I think they should be prepared to use them and just have small packages where they can maybe bring him into the game where they're down in the red zone, or maybe they're even in the middle of the field, but on the 49ers side where they're always putting him in positive situations. Go back. That's what they did with Joe Montana way back in the before you guys were probably born, back in 79 and 80, before he became the starter. I wasn't born really either at that. I mean, I was alive, but I was only 6. So hey,
hey, knowledge is knowledge when you've been in those days.
Yeah. And I think that's probably would be the best way to do it. And we saw Harbaugh do that with Kaepernick and Smith in 2012 as well. So that by the time when Smith did get hurt, it made for a pretty seamless transition to Kaepernick. What do you guys think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if he's not the starter, there's got to be some sort. The biggest thing is that he cannot sit all year and just rot away. He's already sat out a year. Okay. I know that the easiest thing is to look at it and say, well, Kansas City did it with Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes. Well, the difference was Patrick Mahomes had a lot of throws in college. Okay. He could afford to sit a year. Trey hasn't played football in a year. So you want a guy to now not play any football for 2 years and just expect like, hey, no, he's good. Like he'll be totally fine. His first start in 2022. I just don't see it that way. So if he doesn't start or until he does start, yeah, you got to get him some packages. And I don't like necessarily I see what Sean's trying to say. Sean's trying to say, listen, like Taysom Hill as far as just getting him in the game. I'm cool with that. I just don't want to see a quote unquote Taysom Hill package. He's much more of a quarterback than what Taysom Hill is. Taysom Hill is an athlete. He's a weapon, right? That would be like if Debo didn't play, we would have a Taysom Hill package with Debo. But to me, Trey Lance is an actual quarterback. We're talking about a guy who, despite all the athleticism that he has, despite that big arm, if you watch the way he plays on film, he's extremely safe with the ball. He protects the ball. He's not coming in to take big chances and go crazy. His main goal is to get the ball in his weapon's hands, whether that's a short pass, long pass, whatever he's got to do, but he's not in there to take a bunch of risks. Like we're talking about a true quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. And then to question here, would you like the 49ers to use Lance like the Ravens use Lamar in Baltimore, where they either hand the ball, running the quarterback read, right? Those kind of things. I wouldn't mind it personally. I would like to see that. I would like to see that be a part of their offense. I think that's part of what Shanahan likes as well. I think when you watch the way that he plays the game, you can see him at North Dakota State doing things at North Dakota State that the 49ers should be able to easily implement into their offense. Like, they run that jet sweep a lot where they toss the ball to the guy going in motion. And then at North Dakota State, you see that same thing, but then they have Lance keeping it and they basically run a trap right in the middle and he just gouges the defense. So yeah. I could see them using packages like that for that, or even the read every once in a while. If you wonder how Shanahan might use Trey Lance, just go back and turn on the 2012 film from if you have NFL Game Pass. Go back and watch the Washington Redskins from 2012. That's how they could utilize them. It's all 40. The offense doesn't look a whole lot different than what you've seen from the 49ers since he's been here, except for they're in more shotgun and they run the read more often. That's really the only difference.
Yeah, I want to see it be a part of the offense, like you said, Jack. But I don't want that to be like the package for him, right? Again, back to that Taysom Hill package. If it's a part of the game, a part of the offense, and he's running the offense, I'm cool with that. But I don't want him to come in just for that, right? Come in and play like Cam Newton. You get inside the 5, all of a sudden he's running it up the middle, faking handoffs, whatever. I don't want to put him in those situations. In fact, I want the kid to learn how to slide.
I agree with both of the things that you just said right there. I think you're right. I don't think it should be a situation where they just bring him in and plan to use him as a runner. I think they've got to play their normal game, but would be part of what the offense will look like with him on the field.
For sure.
Yeah, I'll be right back quickly because I got to see what's going on. I think I have to go back in and out with the stream quickly.
Okay, you couldn't see? It's a bug. It's catching everybody. So you put me on game on Twitter today. So I want to thank you for that. I didn't understand where the figures were coming from because when I looked at Julio, what's up, CG? When I looked at Julio, the cap numbers that I was seeing was 19 million and 19 million as a 33 and a 34-year-old. And then you broke it down and said, listen, it's only 11 million. And I wasn't getting where those figures were coming from. And then Spotrac actually showed me exactly where those things are coming from. So good call out on your part, Jack, because it absolutely changed my mind on Julio for sure.
Yeah, that's something that I kind of figured out throughout the Matthew Stafford process.
Yeah.
And then, it was one of those situations where I actually saw somebody else who tweeted it out first, right? That's kind of what I sent to you on Twitter. Yeah. But basically what it is the signing bonus and the other bonus that he has in his contract stay with Atlanta. So if they do anything with him if they trade him after June 1st, the 20.25 million or whatever it is, that stays with Atlanta and it gets spread out over the next 3 years of which would have been his contract terms. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's favorable to them to wait until June 1 to make a deal.
For sure.
Yeah, that would be the most intriguing part about it. Like, we'll wait and see what happens from there. I mean, usually those June 1st cuts, you can actually clear up those cap space because that's the perfect time to cut certain cut candidates. Like, I don't know who's the one that would be likely to cut, but usually around June 1st, that's the best part to clear up more cap space for certain players. Like I've heard different like ways. If you cut Jimmy on June 1st, doesn't that mean we save cap space or we don't really?
You do. What happens if it's a post June 1st cut? What happens is you like for Garoppolo, for example, if you just cut him after June 1, his dead cap right now is 2.8 million for this season. But if you wait until June 1st and you cut him, then you cut that number in half. You take 1.4 million dead cap this year, and you're going to have 1.4 million of dead cap the year after. So it cuts it in half. A lot of teams, some teams will use it this year because they kind of have to because of the way that the cap went down. But it's one of those things where you need to know that you're not just you're saving you're kind of what is the saying you rob from Peter to pay Paul or something like that. That's kind of what happens with post June 1 cuts, because you're still going to get, it's like not paying your taxes on time. You're going to get paid billed for it at some point.
Yeah, that's how it goes too. But you can look at candidate cuts, but do you think D Ford would be the candidate to get the cut? You think, or you think we'll probably work something out with him? Because I think with him, he's got the most pressure. Yeah, he did take a massive pay cut, but I think even if you cut him at that point, you're going to save a lot of cap space with him, But I mean, hopefully he can stay healthy and prove himself. But he's had back issues, and that can be a permanent issue going forward with him. I mean, health-wise, you want to make sure this guy plays at 100% and not miss any time. I mean, maybe we do exactly what the Chiefs did, was like not have him practice as much, and he'll go on game day and be in better shape. I mean, we should have never overplayed him in practice as much,
Yeah, there's no benefit to cutting D Ford, don't you? You mentioned it, and what happens with what the Niners did, if you remember, they went and they redid his deal. Before right before the start of free agency, they kind of redid his deal. If they were to cut him, even after June 1, the dead money matches his cap number, so there's no savings by cutting him this year. So he's going to be on the roster one way or another in 2021. I'm not sure how that how that gets affected if he decides that he wants to retire, but as long as he's active, there's no benefit for them to get rid of him because they don't, as far from a money standpoint.
Okay, so let's answer the Amid Dream. What do you guys think? You guys think we're sold on Mike McGlinchey? You think we should go for this guy that plays for Washington football that's going to be gone or something?
Yeah, I think you're reading my Twitter, man. I know you don't have Twitter, but I feel like you're reading it because, yeah, listen, that's a major upgrade. Morgan Moses is a very good football player. You're talking about adding more beef to this offensive line and just being more aggressive. These are things that they went through and they did in the draft. And then you add a Morgan Moses to that. I mean, we're completely beating people up if that's the case. But that said, McGlinchey's fifth-year option has been picked up. I don't see him going anywhere. The likelihood of that happening is slim to none. But I like where your head's at. I mean, Morgan Moses definitely would be an upgrade, in my opinion, over Mike McGlinchey for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree on that part. I mean, he plays more aggressive. He seems more like a better pass blocker than McGlinchey. McGlinchey's more like your elite run blocker, below average pass blocker. I mean, how can you get beat by other edge rushers that you should be able to block? No problem. But I guess we'll wait and see. But the fifth option just means that we have confidence in Mike McGlinchey, and we're willing to maybe give him another chance. And then maybe after his fifth year, he could prove himself,
I know you don't have Twitter, that's why I said it's like you were reading it, but I know you don't have it.
Hey, Twitter's the best way to communicate, man. Trust me, I'm getting
really
some
is.
new followers here and there.
He's a stud. I haven't ever talked to him, but I've seen him, and he's a smart guy. So,
yeah, I usually see him on Grant Cohen's stream for Beast
yeah.
Riders
If his parents ever let him get on Twitter, I think we're all in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hey, move over,
definitely.
Bish.
No, Amin's sharp, man. He's a sharp kid for sure. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel too.
Hey, go check out my fellow NFC West Roundtable guy, the AZ Sports fan, bro. He got
Oh
me.
yeah, you guys were doing a NFC West roundtable over there, right? You had a Seahawks fan and a Rams fan, and him, and then you. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's the guy right there. If it wasn't for him reaching out to me, I mean, it wouldn't be no opportunity without him. I mean, I thank him. So we'll probably work on it throughout the season, but I gotta be flexible with that because my job's like 6 days a week, so it's like it's been kind of hitting me pretty hard.
Yeah.
Oh, Beast Rider too. Yep. You know what? Beast Rider has been nothing but respect and classy. I mean, there's times where he will put his time and go on people's streams when he has the time, but he's a very good dude, man.
Yeah, Beast Riders are one of the good ones for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is there anything else you guys want to cover before we jump out?
I mean, if there's anything else, I mean, I'm pretty sure we did everything that we can analyze. But as far as you guys, I mean, I appreciate your knowledge, picking up what you guys are saying. I mean, I'm starting to learn a lot of different ways of how you do your X's and O's and how you guys see it. I mean, wait, let's see what the man would say right here.
The 49ers don't make the playoffs this year. Who do you think will be gone first, John Lynch or Kyle Shanahan? Yeah, that's a good question.
John Lynch.
Yeah, that's pretty easy, right? Like,
yeah.
I think it would be Lynch would go first, and because Shanahan's the one with the bigger cachet behind him, so I think it would be Lynch would be first, and then if they continue to fall, it's going to be Shanahan. Yeah. Shanahan's got to do something at some point because this poor guy, he gets a whole lot of credit for a whole lot of losing. That's all I need to say.
Uh-oh. Hey, where's Sunil at? He's coming for you.
Well, it's the truth, right? I mean, you go through and you look at what it was on Twitter this week as well, and I've mentioned it a number of times in writing and over the last few years. But I think Shanahan, he's been in the league for 13 years now, whatever the number is. But he's only been top half of the league in scoring. His offenses like 4 times in 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the only times that his teams have actually had winning records as well. He's only done it 4 times in his career. So, he's definitely good with X's and O's, but as far as actually putting points on the board and winning games, he just really hasn't done it so much yet. And if his name wasn't Kyle Shanahan, if his name was Kyle Johnson, I don't think people are going to be giving him as much credit as he does. That's kind of been my take on him for a while now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, that Shanahan name carries a lot of weight, especially in the Bay Area. So, he is. Listen, you continue to lose. You just can't keep your job forever. I don't care who you are or how good people perceive you to be.
Correct.
CG and Bias Beast Rider, best in NFL news, and more people need to sub to his channel. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, he knows his stuff. Yeah, he knows his stuff, and he's a nutrition guy. I mean, he'll give you a lot of better ways to maintain your health and all that too. So he's a genius. I mean, he puts his good content. I mean, he's been consistent. I mean, you can't go wrong with Beast Rider. But let's put it like this, okay? If it had to go down to that, yeah, of course John Lynch is going to be the odd man out, and they can just easily promote Adam Peters to the front office.
Yeah.
Because the guy knows how to draft well. He's a genius. I mean, that's a guy waiting to be a general manager.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they already promoted him to assistant GM. It's almost like they're getting ready for it to happen. So, yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
who would you rather have? McVay, Shanahan, LaFleur. That's a good one, Jack. Who would you take? McVay?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with McVay on this one.
Okay. Yeah, this question was posed to me a couple weeks ago. I leaned Shanahan. I'm still leaning Shanahan. Listen, I think McVay is a great coach, and I definitely can't argue with you taking McVay. But Shanahan's Shanahan seems to own McVay for whatever reason. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a mental thing, but it seems like anytime these two guys get together, Shanahan's the smarter guy in the room. Although McVay's a better leader of men. So that's, you kind of get that toss up. LaFleur's last for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I think with McVay, it's just a success at the point. But in the long haul, you're going to go with Shanahan because he knows how to keep this team maintained. But at the moment, I'm going to go with McVay because, the guy's been winning and he's been able to be aggressive, make some gutsy move in the offseason. This guy hasn't had a first-round pick as a head coach, and he's been taking all that trades and making this move to make this team a Super Bowl contender. What's there to not deny it? Shanahan's doing things the right way. He's slowly going to build a team. So in the long haul, you're going to put Shanahan. It may sound a little bit biased, but you got to go with McVay because of the success right now. But when it comes down to LaFleur is inheriting Aaron Rodgers, bro. Aaron Rodgers and that talent. Imagine if Rodgers wasn't his quarterback. I think he would be out of a job in the next couple of years. He'll be like a Mariucci. Just saying.
Yeah, the benefit for McVay where he's been better is that his quarterback's been healthy his entire time that he's been there. Even if it was Jared Goff, and Jared Goff is kind of like a little bit below Jimmy Garoppolo. The fact that he was there all the time, I think, helped him out and has been part of the reason why his record's been better all along. As far as you mentioned, and not having a first-round draft pick, it's funny. One thing about that is the Rams actually have drafted more players during their tenure with McVay than the 49ers have with Shanahan, even though they've been here the same amount of time. They've actually got more draft picks. I think they have more of their draft picks actually on their team still as well. I'd have to check that to double check. But, that's an interesting thing.
Yeah, but we're going by the first-round picks. They haven't had first-round picks under McVay. McVay's actually been making some trades. But, yeah, they pretty much had package draft picks and all that. So, you can
but the 49ers haven't been hitting on their first-round picks. So.
Yeah, we haven't.
And that's kind of the thing right there is you can have first-round draft picks, but and that's kind of what I was going at is the Rams have really hit on their second, third, fourth, fifth-round picks. That's made up for the fact that they haven't had a first.
Yeah, for sure.
I just want to go back to this topic really quick from Ultimate 49er Report, if we can, where he's talking about Grant Cohn being biased and Beast Rider being the best. I'm just got to say something on that real quick. Those two guys are really good friends, and they actually do shows together, Grant and Ryan. Does Grant have some stuff that he says that's out there? Sure. Do I have stuff that I say that's out there? Yeah, I think Jesse probably does too. If you follow any of these guys that say stuff, to say it's biased, I don't think there's anybody that's really biased. It's just that.
I know that Grant Cohen tends to rub people the wrong way. Like, trust me, when I got to see what he was all about as a reporter, I was like the other Niner fans that thought the same way about him. Like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But the more I started agreeing with what he was saying, when he talked about how Jed York needed to be accountable and get rid of Trent Baalke, I started reading more into him, and I started admiring him a lot more. At first, you got to see what he's all about. And I got a chance to talk with him before. So, he seems like a mellow dude, chilled back guy. He didn't even have to apologize to me about the stream. And he just said, I'm sorry that I didn't let you in the last time. And I'm like, it's all good. I ain't tripping. And then he was just like, yeah, he's cool. And then I just messaged him on Twitter. I think after next week, I'll have him on my stream. So it's like, I'm nice. Cool with Beast Rider. Beast Rider's my guy. He's always really been fair. And, yeah, I'm always with Beast Rider. But I do like Grant Cohen also, so I can't just pick favorites. They're good people. They're good friends behind the scenes. I know people don't like Grant Cohen. You know what I call Grant Cohen? The heel, the best heel in the empire. He told me that he's a Niners fan. He told me he's a Niners fan. He does it just to get the views, get the Niner fans rile up.
He's not Niner. The only part of a Niner fan that Grant Cohen has is that he had what did he say? Peanut butter and jelly sandwich with Steve Young when he was a kid. That's about as close to being a 49er fan as Grant ever got with the 49ers being a 49er fan.
Yeah, I didn't even catch that or look at it like that when that comment came up. But listen, Grant, people do hate Grant. It's funny though because they're starting to come around. They really are. They're starting to like Grant, and I think myself personally, I have him to thank for the platform that I have. He does a weekly show with me. My channel is growing extremely quick. We hit 1,500 in 3.5 months from 0 to 1,500. And a lot of that has to do with what Grant does. A lot of that has to do with Jack, doing a weekly show with me. And, I'm forever indebted to guys like that. I told people, and I still tell people, with Grant Cohn, hate the take, but don't hate the person. You're talking about a grade A human being in Grant Cohn. And yeah, he's got some off the wall stuff. And listen, we'll do shows together, and I'm even like, Grant, like, no, you're off on this one, right? Like you're doing too much with this one. I disagree with you, but that's the way he is, and nobody creates better content. There's a lot of great content creators in this space, right? So I don't want anybody to take this like hating, but if there's a godfather of this, Grant Cohn's the godfather of 49er content. It is what it is. He has 30,000 subscribers. He's done it in a short amount of time. He's got an amazing personality. The guy is a content driving machine. All the ideas that you see in these other YouTube channels, Grant started with that. So, say what you want about him, but this all doesn't exist without Grant Cohn.
Yeah, and the thing with Grant Cohn is he doesn't even have to spend his time on hours on live stream talking to other fan base, and he gives those people the platform. I mean, I was honored to at least talk to him for maybe a couple minutes, and he was just nothing but nice and respectful. I mean, I'm even honored to even get into the works of maybe having him on my live stream. Maybe I'll get more people to check me out. But, I started my platform as a trash talker, and that shit just hasn't worked out for me. And excuse my language, but, I got to switch up my tune and do something I love. I mean, I'm a passionate 49ers fan. I've done some stupid shit that I kind of like want to take back, but, I got to learn from that. I played the game also, played offensive line in the semi-football league, which is nothing compared to the NFL or any other professional, but I love playing the game of football. I would do whatever it takes to win at all costs. I mean, that just tells you how much I love the game. Playing defensive lineman, I was very versatile. The thing about me was, never gave up on my dreams, but, I did whatever I could. But now that I have a platform to talk to my fellow fan base and talk to people from other countries or other states, I'm honored, bro. I mean, I see you from Grant Cohn. I see you guys do your thing, and I watch you guys. So, it's even an honor to even have you guys on my stream. I mean, let alone you guys didn't have to, but you guys are kind and respectful, and I do appreciate you guys coming to my stream. Anytime you guys want to go into my stream, you guys are more than welcome. I mean, you guys know your stuff. I'm starting to catch on, learn the knowledge of the game of what you guys do, the X's and O's. That's all we're here for. We're here to collaborate and have that Niner vibe,
Yeah, I appreciate 100%.
It. Yeah, no, it's great to have, it's great to come on. When you asked, I wanted to jump on that because it's always good to come on. And then, then Jesse ended up coming on as well. So for both of us to be on here at the same time was a lot of fun because Jesse's a great guy. We actually hooked up because of a disagreement over the 49ers ourselves, which was kind of a funny story. But it all works out. You start talking to people, and the more you let people share opinions that you might not agree with, the more you're going to learn, and it all works out for everybody.
Yeah, I see a lot of familiar faces that tune into my stream and Jack's stream. Make sure that you guys subscribe to CG. He's a good guy. Again, he invited us on his platform. He's trying to grow just like the rest of us. Give him some love. My channel, if you don't subscribe to my channel or you don't know who I am, I do basically all sports. Tonight we're talking NBA. I've got my normal crew of 4 that we do a Tuesday and Thursday show with, but I branch out a lot. I'll talk MMA on the channel. 49er football is the main thing. Got a weekly show with Jack on his platform, a weekly show with Grant on his platform, and just trying to make it happen. And if you need film breakdown, my gosh, Jack's your guy. Talk about a guy that will break down the X's and O's, show you exactly what it is that you're not going to see during a regular game. He's going to show you all 22 film. That guy's got great content on his channel. I love what Jack does. Honored to share a platform with him, not only tonight, but weekly on his show as well with the Hammer and Nails show. And so make sure you subscribe to him as well. CG, thank you so much for having us on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yep, very much.
Yeah, thank you guys for even coming over here. I mean, anytime you guys want to collaborate with me, man, this is the platform. I mean, I know that the reception was a little slow start, but now it's starting to kick in. So, I do appreciate Jack Hammer for coming in also. I mean, Last Second Sport, we've been collaborating for a little here and there, and now it's just happening. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I was watching Grant Cohen from time to time. I watch it every now and then. I even watch it at my job, and I'm like seeing you guys talking. I'm like, man, I gotta get these guys in. It's like, come on.
Yep.
I appreciate it, man.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. So be sure to check out Last Second Sports and go check out Jack Hammer, man. And as far as everybody else, the newer subscribers, including Emin the Dream, I don't know if he's subscribed yet or any other people, but Ultimate Report, he's been subscribed to me. Bay Area Baller 18, I don't know if he's been, but he's been checking my content. I mean, check out your boy Jay in the Bay.
He's another good
one. Even for a rival person as a fan, go check out my boy that's a Seattle Seahawks fan, Steezy A. Smith. He's a Seattle fan from the NFC West Roundtable.
Like that.
And and go show some love for a Cardinal fan, man. Even though he gave me the platform to be on his roundtable, that's all I gotta say.
Yep. Sounds good.
Later, man.
Put the link to the description. What link? For check out Last Second Sports. Just click in. I mean, you guys can put your link in, and they'll check you guys out.
Nah, that's cool. Just listen. Type in Last Second Sports into YouTube. It's the only thing that will come up. We're the first channel that pops up. Jackhammer is a little bit harder to find, but if you search Jackhammer, you'll see Jack. Close your screen real quick, or turn off your video so they can see your logo. Yeah, if you see that logo, you got the right Jackhammer.
Yeah.
It's under Jackhammer _NFL. I think it pops up. I think that might be the best way for it to show up.
Yeah. Oh, for their channels, I'll put the comments in for them. So, well, see, Last Second Sports, it's simple to catch on to his content. All you got to think about is the last second, and then you put sports on it. And I'll just put the comment in just to make it easy for everybody else. But the point is, Last Second Sports has been doing his thing. I've been catching on to him when he was on Grant Cohen, dude, which I watch Grant Cohen on a weekly basis. I see him and Jack Hammer come in. I see Bish and the others. I mean, dude, it's like I catch on with these people, and I do like what they do,
We appreciate it, CG.
We appreciate
it. Yeah, no problem, man. But be sure to leave your guys' comments on my page, and then maybe they'll click on you guys quickly. I mean,
for sure.
The more the merrier. Yeah.
I got you. I always comment on your videos.
Yeah, lately you've been doing that, but that's good, man. But Jackhammer, bro, it was an honor to at least have you on my stream. I mean, you guys have the ability to have potential to at least put it out there. I mean, Grant Cohen started like taping Mike McGlinchey from what he said, and it went viral. That's what he said.
That's how his YouTube page started. That's right.
Yeah. So anything's possible, but when you think of Niner YouTubers, Grant Cohen comes to mind, but nobody talks. I mean, people forget about Rombo. Rombo, man.
Yeah, Rombo's another one. Yeah.
I mean, we don't ever think about ourselves as being better than everybody else. We want to give a platform for every other Niner fan base,
For sure.
That's right. All right, guys, I got to head out.
All right, bud.
All right, guys.
All right. Thank you all so much for having me on.
No problem, man. Anytime. Let's just call it a day. We'll schedule down the near future, but at the meantime, I'm just going to nail every bit of my interviews with everybody else, But Ultimate Report, maybe in the near future, I will get on your stream. So that will happen. I'm just going to do a lot of interviews, but you'll be next. So be sure to check them out. If not, go check out Grant Cohen's show and you'll see them. They'll pop up. So CG Ruthless Sports is out. And go Niners.